The last social trend that we're going to look at is the changes in the traditional American family. When we looked at the 1950s, for example, most households were a mother and father with multiple children where the mother stayed home and the dad went to work. That does not reflect what's most common in American society today. So let's take a look at some of these changes. The pictures on the left are some of those very, very sexist ads that we looked at. For example, if your husband ever finds out you're not stove testing for fresher coffee, the husband is spanking the wife. And on the right, it shows, a modern version of it where the wife is spanking the man. Now, either one is not appropriate, obviously, but no way would we see advertisements like the ones on the left anymore. Most American households with two parents are more egalitarian than they were years ago. So what other kinds of things have we seen? Same-sex marriages, for sure. As we know, Massachusetts was the first state to allow gay marriage, and the Massachusetts Supreme Court decided that. Other states allowed their people to vote on it, but the issue was finally put to bed in 2015 when the Supreme Court made same-sex marriages legal in all 50 states in Obergefell versus Hodges. I can't pronounce it. And as late as 1967, it was illegal in some states to have interracial marriages. And that famous case was called Loving versus Virginia. And there was a recent movie made out about that. So marriages look different, but also what looks different is that many people choose to reject marriage, but still live together and have children. So if you look at this graph, 1950, by far, the largest number of people were married couples with children. If you look at 2010, the number of households in the red, headed by mothers, grew. Headed by fathers, stayed about the same. But look at that yellow block. Really, really grew. Cohabitating couple with children. Many people are choosing to not marry for various reasons. They don't think they need it. It's expensive should you get divorced. It's just more socially acceptable than it used to be. By the same token, the fertility rate of women has decreased. Now, that doesn't mean that women are not able to bear as many children as they used to, but they're choosing not to. If you look at the number of children per 1,000 women, used to have 2.25, and as recently as 3 years ago, it's down to 1.6 or 1.8, depending on what part of the country that you live in. And again, what are the reasons for that? A lot of it is the availability of more reliable forms of birth control. Women are delaying childbearing, so when they're older, they can have fewer children. Their bodies won't allow them to have more. And perhaps the biggest reason for most people is the expense. It's very expensive to raise children, and not just the college costs that we all moan about, but daycare. I was talking to an MHS teacher with two small children, and she said her daycare costs for two children, a toddler and an infant, were equal to her mortgage payment. So for many people, there's the economic reasons, and then other people, it's environmental reasons. They see that the earth is overpopulated, and it is not a correct decision to bring more children into it. So think about what having fewer children does to family structure. It makes it easier to have both parents work outside the home, and children tend to get more attention, for better or worse, when there are fewer children in the household. So if you look at this, by far, the economic impact of birth rates is seen here, and you see how low the birth rate was during the Great Depression. And this one stops in about 2010 when there was the Great Recession, 8, 9, 10. When we first entered this quarantine period, many people said, oh, wait till all the babies are born 9 months later. But in fact, now they're thinking the opposite is going to happen. there would be far fewer babies born because of the economic instability that we're facing right now. 1 in 4 Americans is unemployed right now, and that is not an ideal situation to bring a baby into the world. So if you look at this as well, the non-marital birth rates among African Americans, 70% of African American babies are born to unmarried parents. And there's lots of reasons we could look at that, why that happens. It has to do often with welfare. It has often to do with the fact that so many Black men are in substandard jobs or not have jobs at all or in prison, and therefore the family structure can often be very, very unstable. And social scientists have said for years that it is preferred to have 2 parents in the home to raise a child, but that is not always possible. The divorce rate has actually gone down. Around the year 1980, you had a 50% chance of being divorced in your lifetime. Today, it's down to about 38 to 40%. And again, is that because people are marrying later and they usually know themselves better? Is that because it's too expensive to get divorced? Who knows? I'd like to think it's people are making, good choices, but I can't prove that. And think about family in the media. When I was a kid, it was always seen with, the white family with mom and dad, kind of like, Ozzie and Harriet down here in the corner. And dad was always sort of the smart, all-knowing person that everybody went to for help and guidance. And over time, that changed. And if you look at a lot of these shows that are around today, for example, look at the lower right, there's Blackish. The father's kind of a doof. The mother is the, highly regarded doctor at the hospital. And the father constantly does silly things and he has to be reined in. Or you look at Modern Family there in the middle. Both Phil and his father are the comedic couple there, and the wives kind of, bring them down to earth. Some people think that's better, that women aren't portrayed only as the helpmate as they were for years, but other people say this is a bad trend because it reduces the importance role of the father in the family. But on the resources, you'll see on the resource page a bunch of links to watch some old TV shows and see how the family dynamics change. Some of these, I think if you think of the Brady Bunch, which you've probably all seen back in the 70s, that portrayed a step family situation, which is the reality for many, many American children today. And that was one of the first times that was seen on television.